Hello everyone, welcome back to another installment of Starter Set Saturdays. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2006 D&D basic game. This came out in 2006 and had an MSRP of $24.95 US. Although the Canadian price I wasn't able to find a solid number on, but I remember being closer to the $40 mark at my local game store, so that would have been around a 34 or a 35.95 Canadian price. So I think it was usually about $10 difference between the Canadian and American price back then. So $34.95 sounds about right. Now, if you didn't see the last video in the series, I have decided to break production, quality, and presentation into two separate categories. So there are 5 categories now that I'll be looking at when I do these videos. And let's just sort of get right into it, shall we? So we're going to start with the production quality of this particular starter set. So, nice, sturdy, solid looking box here. Nice quality card, nice thick card stock here. So the physical production of everything is pretty decent. I mean, you did have if I can get the lid off there, you did have the plastic miniatures, as well as some full color booklets for the player characters and the Dungeon Master. A black and white version of the rule books, but you also have some nice dungeon tiles here that we'll take a look at when we get more into the presentation style, but they are also a nice, thick, sturdy cardstock as well. So the physical production of this is pretty decent, and overall I'm going to give the production, well, may as well leave that off. I'm going to give the physical production a score of an 8 out of 10. The box does have a little bit of warping, a little bit of wear and tear, but I mean, it is, a 20-year-old box set, so I think it's held up fairly well as far as that's concerned. Now, as far as the presentation goes, again, you got some really nice artwork on the box here. You have Regdar facing off. Actually, let's close this up for a moment. You do have Regdar facing off against the blue dragon there, and sort of like the sandy-looking runes, which looks really cool. Not actually duplicated in the adventure, unfortunately, but we'll get to that in a moment. But still, really nice artwork there. And then on the sides, you do have some of the hero characters on one side, some of the miniatures, the villainous miniatures on the other. And then on the back, you do have the enter a world of adventure and imagination. Become a hero, take on the role of a fierce warrior, mighty wizard, powerful cleric, or stealthy rogue to embark on a heroic quest. Brave the unknown, so explore dangerous dungeons, fight terrifying monsters, and discover wondrous treasures, and, bring your friends together. Together with your bold companions, prove you've got what it takes to face the risks and collect the rewards in the greatest fantasy role-playing game of all time. It includes 12 pre-painted miniatures, heroes and monsters, so 4 heroes, 8 monsters, 4 double-sided dungeon tiles, 4 hero booklets, 1 Dungeon Master booklet, 6 dice, a counter sheet, and an advanced rulebook. And then we got, again, the presentation here, we got the characters sort of being highlighted, except for the wizard for some reason. You've got Regdar the fighter, Karn the rogue, Dothel the cleric, but no mention of the wizard character for some reason. I'm not quite sure why they made that decision, but let's continue on again with, like I said, the presentation here. So again, we do have our characters and our monsters here. So there is that, and we're just looking for, Regdar? Yeah, we're just looking for... Where did he get to? Oh, there he is. I was trying to figure out why I couldn't find him, but he had his back turned. I was mistaking him for the orc. So yeah, we do have our hero characters here and the D&D minis, sort of classic paint jobs. This character in particular actually sports an alternate paint job. So the D&D mini version actually had like a pink dress, so this one has a blue one. And a slightly more tan looking skin tone there. although missing some of the paint on the wrappings around her legs there. And then we got our monster characters. So we got some goblins. Goblin with Morningstar or mace, goblin with crossbow. We have Minotaur, or baby Minotaur, junior Minotaur, young Minotaur. There we go. I got it eventually. Gargoyle. Our Orc Mauler. Our Leaning Skeleton. The Harpy with the Vegeta hair. And of course, the highlight of this set is the Blue Dragon miniature there. We do have our 6 dice along with our booklets. So here's our Dungeon Master book, which will have some of the adventure stuff. These are in full color. And then the Fighter book. Now, interestingly, oh wait, no, it's not in there. It must be in one of the other. I think maybe it's the Dungeon Master's book. Yeah, the Dungeon Master's book, for some odd reason, shows the percentile die, but that is not included in the set. So I don't know why they've got that there. It's not included, like I said, these are your original dice. It does say there's only supposed to be 6 of them on the box. So I'm not quite sure why they included the percentile in that one, but this one gives you the proper dice with the proper coloration. Some basic rules and information, and then you got your character sheet on the back there. It would have been nice to use this bottom section to have some like artwork for the characters. But again, you got your full color character booklets there with their, like I said, with their character sheets on the back. And then we've got something that's going to hurt the presentation again a little bit, because we do have the black and white once again for the rule booklet, which again is a bit of a shame, because this is where like a lot of artwork is also included. We've also got characters depicted that aren't in the adventure, so that's kind of great. Although this would have been a great lineup of characters to use. So again, you've got like some cool artwork that's just kind of, you know, muted by the fact that it's black and white there. Again, we got character art for the second level characters. You know, so it's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to that. The Read This First is in full color, though it's only single-sided. And here we got the tiles. So we'll start with the back end here. So this is tile 4A. Let's just move this box maybe out of the way for now. So there's tile 4A, tile 4B, tile 3A, tile 3B, tile 2A, 2B, and 1A. And 1B. So some nice looking dungeon tiles there. And then we just finish out the set with these tokens, these punch out tokens. They're on a bit of a thinner card stock, but they are still at least card. So that's kind of cool. It's a bit, like I said, it's thinner, a little bit more wobbly. And the backs actually just have the listing of what they are. So I'll put these back in here. So presentation, like I said, a little bit of a mixed bag. It is nice to see some artwork and the advanced rule booklet, though, again, that's all in black and white. So I'm going to give the presentation overall a 7 out of 10. So the box art looks great. The dungeon tiles look amazing as well. The full color booklets are nice to have for the players and the dungeon master there. But again, we do have the final encounter. So the Dungeon Master's book, for the presentation wise, only gives you a portion of the adventure, and then the rest of the adventures in the rule booklet, the advanced rules, which is all in black and white, which does feel like kind of a step backwards as far as the presentation goes. So there's some really nice stuff in here, but I think overall a 7 out of 10. If the advanced rulebook would have been in full color, then this would have bumped up quite a bit, actually. But I think 7 out of 10. is what we're going to go at there. So we have 7 out of 10 for presentation, 8 out of 10 for the production quality. And the next thing we're going to move into is the rules quality. So, again, rules quality is fairly decent. We do have the booklets here, which go over things like how to make attack rolls. I should go over like casting spells and stuff like that for the spell casting characters, I would assume. But let's take a quick look here. Skill checks, yeah, spell book. So it does go into a little bit of information for the specific characters there. So you do get a very basic stripped down version of the rules that you use throughout the first portion of the Dungeon Master's booklet. When the characters go through everything in this book, they reach level 2, which is where the advanced rulebook actually kicks in. And in the advanced rulebook, well, again, let's move this out of the way for now. The advanced rulebook actually does advance the rules. So we do have the basic rules for the initial characters here. So that would include things like their initiative is just fixed in what order they go in and around. So the characters pretty much always are guaranteed to go first. And then the monster's initiative, if I can find a monster stat block here. Or if I can find one that has multiple characters. Actually, for some reason, it doesn't seem to show their initiative, just their hit points. But yeah, the characters go first, and then the monsters go after that. So I guess you could do the monsters in the order that they're presented in. So do the archer, then the warrior, then the orc. But yeah, it does the job to begin with, but you do actually get into the advanced stuff here, which does include having to roll initiative for your characters. So your second level characters will actually have their initiative modifier here. So you'd actually roll a d20, and the monsters will actually get to roll for their initiative as well. So the characters are not going to be going first necessarily when you get to the actual final section of the adventure, so it does change things up there. You also have skill points introduced in the second half as well, so your characters will have to choose which skills they want to increase based off of how many points they get for the different classes that they are. So like the fighter gets 2 skill points to use, which is not a lot, so they have different skills here. Interestingly enough, none of those are actual fighter skills, so it's weird that they are given those, but anyway, I digress. But it is nice. It does set them up for the full rules as they finish the adventure here. There's still some stuff that is kind of lacking, but they do also have the player's kit that they were pushing at the same time. It came out around the same time as this starter set, which was a box set that had a set of dice and some booklets for some of the different classes, but was just a soft covered player's handbook there. So the rules are decent. They get the job done. There's still some gaps. There's no character creation rules. So I'm going to give the rules quality, again, a 7 out of 10. It's definitely above the minimum that they could have done, and it's definitely the most advanced starter set that they put out between 3.0 and 3.5, although I'm trying not to involve that information in these reviews. But the fact that they actually do cover things like rolling initiative and buying skills with your skill points, it definitely goes above the minimum. Lack of character creation still kind of sucks. So 7 out of 10, I think, is a fair score for that. And then we're going to go into the adventure quality. And we take, I think, a little bit of a hit here. There's some aspects of the adventure that I'm not the biggest fan of. The setup is pretty basic and pretty generic. The characters are hired by the lords of a town to explore a dungeon because monsters have been attacking the nearby settlement. I don't know if they ever actually give the name of the settlement at all in this, which is, I think, unfortunate. It would have been kind of cool if they could have included a basic town for the characters to go to rest and heal up and to go to gain their level, to gain second level, to buy and sell gear, stuff like that would have been kind of nice, but that's, again, something that's missing from this. whereas they could have bought gear and stuff, I think, in other versions of other third edition starter sets. Maybe not the 3.5 one, but I think the 3.0 one would have had that support. But anyway, I don't want to use those as examples here. But yeah, they just go through monsters attacking town, find monsters, slay monsters, is the basic premise for the adventure. The selection of monsters also feels interesting, but maybe somewhat random. Like, we know that the dragon is like the main villain at the end of the adventure, but like, where does the harpy come in? Where does the gargoyle come in? Where does the young minotaur come in? Why are there skeletons? In this one encounter, there's 3 skeletons, but only 1 mini, so the skeletons take turn animating, waiting for their previous counterpart to be destroyed before the next one appears for whatever reason. And then you also have the dragon encounter taking place in a room where the dragon is unable to fly, unable to take advantage of like the fact that it has wings, and it's designed like the dragon will fight to the death. So it's just kind of weird that we've got, like it says, note the ceilings in this chamber and the rest of the dungeon are too low for the blue dragon to fly or use its wings as weapons. And it fights to the death. So it's in a really bad setup. Like the dragon, for supposed to be, an intelligent creature, sure picked a terrible place to set up shop in. And why would it fight to the death in a room that it can't use like a large number of its abilities? It's just not the best setup in the world. It's still cool to fight like a blue dragon and a minotaur and go up against some of these different monsters. So I'll give the game that much, but I think the adventure is a little bit lacking, a little bit disappointing. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 total. Up next, we're going to get into the value for the cost, which is our final category here. So for the cost, everything said about the scenario, you're still going to get, a session, maybe 2, depending on how short or long your sessions are. But you're still going to get, about 6 to 8 hours, I'd say, of gameplay in with this starter set. So I think, that's pretty decent. You do get these 12 minis, and the minis are a good start for a collection, right? You've got some good, useful utilitarian monsters. You've got a couple of goblins. You've got the young minotaur. You do have a dragon to go up against. You got the 4 player characters, and you do get like the starter set of dice, along with the 4 dungeon tiles, the tokens to go on them, and these colored rulebook or these colored pamphlets, along with the basic rule or the advanced rules. So, you get some pretty decent stuff here for $24.95 US. That's a pretty solid deal. So, I'm going to give the value for cost a 9 out of 10. You get quite a bit for that $24.95. You get the 12 pre-painted minis. You get the beautifully illustrated dungeon tiles that can be reused in future scenarios. And you do get the full color booklets, which is nice to see, along with, the basic stuff that you need to play, again, about 6 to 8 hours of Dungeons & Dragons. So, yeah, I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. Overall, this game gets a 7.4 out of 10. So on the negative side of things, lack of character creation. It's one of those things where I don't take points away for character creation, but I would always add a point for character creation. So like it not being here is kind of unfortunate, especially considering, that you do have like the advanced rulebook, which does get into like skills and like rolling initiative, and it would have been kind of nice, but they were pushing that to the player's kit, the box set that they were also selling around this time. So it's unfortunate that it's not there. I'll always like put it as a negative if it's not there, but I'm not taking away points because of it. The adventure setup, like I said, is pretty generic with no background to explain anything. And, there would have been nice to have had some more stuff just to flesh things out, like a map of the town. Maybe some of the shops that you could go to. Something that could have only necessarily would have taken like a couple of pages. So we do have that. We do have the black and white again for the advanced rule booklet, which again is always going to be kind of a letdown because most of the other things that I have are going to always be full color. So it's a bit of a shame that they kind of cut that corner, especially considering that the advanced rule booklet is where all the art is contained in the box set. But you know, it's more kind of a nitpick, but it's still a bit of a minor annoyance there. On the positive side, you do get the full color booklets, which is nice. So you know, the first half of the adventure at least is going to be presented in this nice, lovely full color pamphlet there, and I do like the color choices of green and blue, some of my favorite colors. So that's, you know, kind of nice to see. They are pleasant to look at. They do help you kind of learn to read. Like I said, the advanced rules are still a positive because they do set you up a far better for transitioning from the basic game into the full game than previous sets did. So that's always nice to see as well. One other sort of nitpick is the character selection. Third edition was really built on its iconic characters. Like, they're used in artwork all throughout third edition's, you know, product line. History from 2000 all the way up to 2008, when the new edition of the game came out. So it's a bit of a shame that the only iconic character that you get to play as is Regdar, who was also included in the previous set. We did have that artwork there of Tordek and Jozan and Maile and Lida the Rogue, which would have been kind of cool to have used them instead. But you know, that way you are using those like iconic characters moving forward. But that's a nitpick. It's not really something that I would take away points for, but it's just something that, you know, like you have this generic, like these were like common minis back in the day as well. For like, you know, the ones that you actually get to use for the player character. So it would have been kind of cool if we could have had like iconics, especially since they did exist. They were out there. The minis line already did produce them, but you know, yeah, it is what it is. But 7.4 out of 10, I think, for the starter set is a pretty fair score overall. There are some good things, like the good things are really good. The lackluster things do kind of drag it down a little bit though, but a 7 is still, you know, well above the floor that I would have, which is like a 5 being like the absolute bare minimum. So they have gone well above that for this set overall. So that is my review of the 2006 D&D 3.5 basic game. I just want to thank everybody who voted on the poll to determine this review. The poll for the next video has already been up and concluded, so we'll be taking a look at the second edition Pathfinder beginner box in the next video in this series. However, the review for after that will need to be determined. So a poll for the review after the Pathfinder one will be going up probably around the day, you know, on Friday evening or Friday afternoon, with this video going live on Saturday. So thank you all so very much for your time. I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments below what were your thoughts on the 2006 basic game. If you had it at the time, was this your introduction to D&D? Which character did you play? After you played the starter set, did you use those characters in the full rules, or did you just make your own characters and start a brand new campaign after this box set? Let me know that stuff in the comments below. Thank you all again for your time. I truly appreciate it. Every single view means the world to me. So I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your day to watch something that I prattle on over. Like I said, it does really mean a lot. And we will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.